family. Welcome back to Dark Woke, your direct link to all things politics, comedy, and culture. I am your host, Janaea FutureCon, champ yapper, and frequent nuisance in the activist and comedy worlds. Let's get dialed in. Just before we jump, Dark Woke is a self-funded, self-produced show. We're on Patreon at Janaea FK. I am so grateful for all the support and for you just taking the time to listen. Okay, listen. This is a stacked episode. Yes, we're going to be covering the RFK hearing. We're going over the federal freeze, a couple of breaking news points, but we've got here some quick hits. And I was like, I don't know how to preface this other than to say, if we ever wanted to know what it would look like if 4chan weenies ran America, this is it. This is it. I'm just going to play this clip of Donald Trump. So he's in a press conference talking about the budget that was sent over to Gaza in his mind. And there's no way. You know what? I just got to play it for you. I just got to play it for you because let me hit this right quick.
In that process, we identified and stopped $50 million being sent to Gaza to buy condoms for Hamas.
I hate him so much. Condoms for Hamas. Yep. Condoms for Hamas. Hamas condoms.
50 million. And you know what's happened to them? They've used them as a method of making bombs. How about that?
Bombs. How about that? Okay, listen. Look, this is ridiculous, but I will say, when the leader of the free world, right, gets together on the national stage, this is the president of the United States telling the world that Hamas goes through $50 million worth of condoms. I'm just going to say it. That is the perfect setup for a Hamas OnlyFans. I might watch it. I was just like, this is, all right, I'm sorry. And then Hamas using condoms to make bombs is perhaps my favorite thing. They're using them as balloons. This is according to the Trump administration, as balloons just floating rockets over into Israel. This is, I just have to say, as The Guardian reported on Tuesday, right? There was a comprehensive report issued in September by USAID, right? Not a penny of the $60.8 million in contraceptive and condom shipments funded by the U.S. in the past year went to Gaza. Not a dollar, right? In fact, the accounting shows there were no condoms sent to any part of the Middle East. And just one small shipment, about like $45,000, in oral and injectable contraceptives was sent to the region. All of it distributed to the government of Jordan. So this is completely fabricated. But I will say, when somebody lobs you a dinger, just hit it and go. This is a home run for Hamas. It's a good time. It's a good time for OnlyFans. That's all I'm going to say about that. Okay. We got to talk about this White House federal funding freeze and where we're at right now. So let me help recap what happened, right? It's like the sloppiest head in the world. And I'm talking about Donald Trump, right? So to recap, Donald Trump signed an executive order, right? And the White House ordered the freezing of federal grants, right? This caused mass chaos and confusion in Washington and across America. It imperiled government programs that fund schools and provide housing. That same funding that ensures low-income Americans have access to healthcare. Remember that? Yeah, he killed that. And there were like a dozen or more states that reported issues accessing funds under Medicaid. That is going to directly impact people that need, and sometimes desperately need, healthcare. Right? Even as of Wednesday, public housing authorities reported being locked out of their funding portal. So essentially, the running of America stopped. So a judge issued a freeze. It's not permanent. It gives us a chance, and I say us, I mean the advocates and the people fighting the good fight at that level, wherever, on the Hill, to shore up support and create a game plan and a strategy to fight this. So that is good. But, I will say it was very interesting because, of course, they're trying to gauge the Trump administration at this point in time. First of all, they are incompetent. Yes, they are following through Project 2025, et cetera, but they genuinely did not think that there was going to be any backlash to this. They don't actually understand how government works. And the truth is they have no interest in governing. The whole point is to extract every single dime that they possibly can. That largely comes from average people and these massive multi-billion-dollar federal contracts, right? So it's interesting because they took this huge swing, right? But then they folded faster than a new lesbian couple at the local shelter's puppy adopt-a-thon. You know what I mean? Just puppies under both arms. That's right. That's how they folded. So they rescinded the order freezing those federal grants, right? And this is, of course, a memo obtained by the Washington Post, but it's obviously been reported everywhere right now. And why did they do that? There was a tsunami of backlash. So the Trump administration withdrew the order after the federal judge, right, in Washington temporarily halted its implementation until February 3rd. So that's a date that we want to keep in mind. But again, this is ample time for public health advocates and officials, nonprofits, businesses, from groups like Democracy Forward, right? It gives them more time to challenge the directive's legality. So, and then separately, roughly 24 state attorneys general filed their own lawsuit against the administration on Tuesday, right? So they were arguing that the pause in federal spending has harmed their citizens. They're completely correct. Of course, we know now that they folded. It was a huge overstep. But it's funny because they're like, well, oh yeah, that's our choice. We chose to unfreeze the freeze, right? That was our choice. And we all know it's like, as much as this is giving I broke up with her energy, right? And this was a sloppy overplay. They will try it again, right? They're going to try it again because the ultimate goal is to ensure that the president and not Congress gets the final say on spending in America, right? That's what he wants. That's what he's going to be fighting for. That's what Donald Trump and the Trump administration want. This is right in line with Project 2025. And to be quite clear, this is fascism 101. Trump is literally the person running the country is the worst person in the group chat. He's the worst person in the group chat. The one that you're just like, oh God, I can't. And every time I get a notification now from, the Washington Post or the New York Times or, the Guardian or whatever, this is the right kind of inarticulate because I'm like, this is nuts. This is nuts. I mean, I can barely keep up with how unbelievably wild this shit is. It's delusional. It's scary. It's hilarious. It's just. Okay. I hate him so. I cannot stand these folks. But what I have seen that is really brilliant. So again, we have those when our government officials, when our politicians fail to be the checks and balances and to do their job, right? And I just named some of the players here. We have people who will step in that vacuum and in that absence, right? Those not-for-profits, those public health advocates, those businesses, even temporary allies like state attorneys general, right? Organizers. But there were also tens of thousands of people who expressed their outrage. And it is important to note that whether or not this administration wants to acknowledge it, they are wary of a massive public movement and outcry. There's nothing scarier to them than a coalition. And the reason why they spend so much time, an exorbitant amount of time, using coded language that is meant to sow division, that it particularly focuses in on insulting Black folks, Black organizers, Black movements, right? As they're running on that because the whole point is so that we do not see each other as anything but enemies. And the second that we start to come together, they flip the fuck out and they fold it. That's power. It's not the same kind of power of the state. It's a much more profound, sustainable power because that state doesn't exist without the people in it. So they still have to adhere to some kind of normalcy because the people demanded it, but they are going to learn from this. And that's what we need to be paying special attention to, right? The Democrats, when they lose, like they can lose by like 1.5 points and they're like, oh God, oh no, we should retire to the moors. We should stop forever. Like they go full fucking Sylvia Plath, but no edge, no interest, no intrigue. You know what? Sylvia didn't deserve that. She didn't deserve that. She was pretty gangster. No, they just lay over, they just die. Republicans get smashed, right? I'm just remembering 2008, they were so pissed off over Obama and they spent the entire time rebuilding and retooling the playbook. And McConnell played a integral role in that. And that was just having a complete against every single thing that every single policy that Democrats put forward. In a way, it changed how the Republican Party operates irrevocably. It was really disgusting, but that's the length, that's how many steps they're willing to take to win. The other thing, though, that I want to point out that I think was also very profound was despite, there is a gleefulness in people suffering that I mentioned in yesterday's episode, and forgive me because I was like, I was too dehydrated. I could have sneezed and I would have spontaneously combusted. That wasn't my favorite episode. So I was like, you will drink your water today. And I'm very sorry to report that stretching is as good as people say it is. It's a tragedy. It is wonderful. Stretching and water. I was like, oh, life. But, there was a lot of assumptions. That's another piece I just want to point out. There were a lot of assumptions, right? If somebody, there's one video in particular that really stood out to me. And it was a woman, a white woman who was talking about how, this freeze directly impacted her ability to take care of her children, right? That's terrible. The federal freeze, and she was scared. And there was so many comments, right? This is just one example of several dozen, where everyone was like, yeah, well, you shouldn't have voted for Trump. Here's the thing. She didn't vote for Trump. People just made assumptions because she looked like white trash, based on these like perceptions that we have of what people look like. And that's the thing that pisses me off. We don't get to judge people we don't get to be righteous about other people's judgment and base assumptions and then do the exact same thing. That's not useful. So once again, I'm just giving a little shout to Imani Barbarin's response to this because it is perfectly articulates it. And I'm enjoying this little mixed media thing that I'm doing. Okay. So let me just play this right quick because we got this one wrong. Not everybody, of course, but for the folks who are still like, it's the Democrats, it's only the Democrats or is the super hardcore lefties. And I'm just like, y'all, they are taking away everything. And you're yapping at each other like two dogs, behind a fence. And the second you raise the fence, they don't do nothing. Anyway, let me hit this right quick.
To the two creators who are absolutely dragging me right now saying FAFO.
So FAFO is fuck around and find out, right? As in, oh, you're sad now. That was the tone, right? Oh, you're sad now because you're being harmed by this administration. Fuck around and find out. First of all, you can fuck off with that. And second of all, it's even more egregious when you're totally fucking wrong about it.
Did you even look at my page?
I knew that fuck around and find out content would backfire spectacularly eventually, particularly because of the asynchronous communication nature of social media. They would see somebody on their FYP who is not aesthetically liberal enough. And
that right there, who is not aesthetically liberal enough, right? Isn't conveying it. No tote bags, no bobs, no hipster beards, right? A regular looking person, somebody who honestly looked like everybody I grew up with. Just, you know, it was just black people and poor white folks, and they always had ringworm, but they were wonderful.
And assume the way in which they voted. Then they would go around attacking that person, acting superior, without any sense of the irony that a lot of times how you treat people based off of your vote is how that person will interact with their vote. I've been saying this the entire time. How you treat people is how they will vote. Even just a cursory glance at someone's profile, even if you don't look at any single...
I just want to add a little caveat there. I don't necessarily fully agree with that conclusion, but I think that I would rather we operate from that than perhaps from that premise than maybe the opposite of that, though I think there is, you know, a middle ground.
Single video says, are we just scrubbing things from the internet? That's from less than a week ago. Why would she be saying that less than a week ago? The caption on one of her videos even is, Trump the traitor. Every liberal that hopped on that FAFO train, they now just look like a group of people making fun of somebody for losing their health care and potentially food for their children.
And that's it. And that's just gross. And I mean, like, what glee could you possibly take out of the state of affairs that we have right now? So, you know, what's wonderful, though, is that people are speaking out against it. And for every time that there's shitty behavior, you can find something wonderful on the internet. You can find some sort of pushback. And to me, that is redemptive and wonderful. This is like the worst kind of town hall. But it is a town hall, whether we want it to be or not. Anyway, I don't know how to segue into Guantanamo detention centers, but this is what Trump has suggested. And I mean, I couldn't believe what I was reading. So this is the thing. So President Trump signed an executive order instructing preparation of a facility to house 30,000 immigrants at the U.S. naval base in Cuba. That's Guantanamo Bay, right? So they're going to use this detention center to hold up to 30,000 immigrants deported from the U.S. I want to be really clear. They're going to use arbitrary rules, assumptions, and no due process, right? Send them out of America to Guantanamo Bay, right? Like, let me refresh our memories. This is an authoritarian, extrajudicial prison where people have been routinely stripped of their rights, tortured, brutalized, disappeared, and denied any form of due process. The Guantanamo reached this cultural criminal peak under the Bush administration, right? They were just locking up innocent people merely accused of being terrorists, just accused. There was absolutely no proof, right? Being waterboarded constantly, all these, just the highest form of the most sophisticated forms of torture were implemented there, right? Innocent people. It's just like just an unbelievably shameful war crime. So we have, and we've seen already, they're saying, well, you could just be accused of a crime and that's enough. You can be deported. So you're going to take people who are just trying to find a way to live in this world, just like you and I, throw them out of the country to Guantanamo Bay and leave them there to rot. Somebody's making money off of this. This is what I need us to understand. I'm saying somebody, but it's several people. stand to make a disgusting amount of money from this, because that is the only incentive for this. This is another clear indication of fascism. This is a concentration camp. It's just concentrated with immigrants. So this is something that direct action can be taken against. It was impactful to a point when our wonderful, investigative journalists, right? And we know that a lot of legacy media has been cut down at the knees, but they spent just a chunk of their lives revealing the awful things that were happening in Guantanamo Bay. When we fight, we win. So this is something that we absolutely should be taking action against. And I will be, I'll spend some time identifying what key organizations will be involved in that, or, legal experts, because it's coming. And they have signed so many executive orders. I think it's going to take some time to see what is first for them, or first on, the list of priorities in terms of what they actually see through. But they're rushing this. They're hitting us with the shock and awe because people stand to make money off of it. And if we fixate on certain issues, right, we will lose sight. Was that the forest for the trees? I do need to talk about this RFK hearing. You know how Robert F. Kennedy Jr., the guy who had the worm in the brain and staged the death of a bear cub that he picked up off the road and then couldn't figure out where to put it because he had to catch a plane. And so he took the dead bear cub's body that he'd been driving around with all day because he wanted to skin it later, and then put it on a bike path and tried to stage it so that it looked like that a cyclist had hit it. And then the story is verified. Like, it was reported in the news, but it was like this mystery. And then years later it came out. This is the guy who is running our health infrastructure. I can't wrap my brain around that. And I've got several episodes that really break down what a fucking nut he is and how I still I like toxic masculinity. So I like the guy and his weird contradictions and his gravelly voice, and he's fucking jacked, but never, ever in a position of power. Like, I miss when they just were basement dwellers who just yapped and, just like the man about town that everybody just, nodded to and rolled their eyes at, and we all just got on with it. But no, now they're running the god darn country. So I'm not going to waste too much time explaining the lunacy that is RFK, and at different times, right? And this is what's pissing me off about it. At certain points in times, right? Robert F. Kennedy Jr. is somebody that had a beautiful civil rights analysis. He has been a leader when it comes to environmental justice. It's been very important to him, and racial justice. And these were things that made me inclined to pay attention to him. Right? It's my job to pay attention, but where he got weird was, of course, his stance on vaccines. Since getting in bed with Trump and just getting fully red-pilled and just becoming a part of the manosphere, his somewhat hesitant positions, right, on vaccines became, he did like an almost, maybe not a 180, I can't think of the thing where it's like he went full tilt. He just went full tilt and was just like, vaccines cause autism, vaccines do this, and he's been running on that. And the guy that used to represent some set of values, right? And just had a little bit of that conspiracy brain. And honestly, I think testosterone just gives you a little bit of that, But, man, watching his fall from grace, it's been pretty gross. I'm just going to play this Bernie Sanders clip, and then I promise I'm going to make you laugh, because this shit went off the rails. It went off the rails. Here we go with my buddy Bernie telling it like it is. This is at the Kennedy hearing today.
There is no question that abortion is a divisive issue in this country. I would say a majority of the people are pro-choice. There's a strong minority who are pro-life. A year and a half ago, you went to New Hampshire, running for president, gave a speech, and you talked about government should not tell a woman what she can do with her own body. That's her choice. Now, I think everybody on that side is pro-life. I think everybody here is pro-choice. I have never seen any major politician flip on that issue quite as quickly as you did when Trump asked you to become HHS secretary.
This is such an important point. It demonstrates the absolute valuelessness of these people, right? You will do anything that this administration wants you to do. You are not a person. You are not a man with your own opinions and your own brain. You are a puppet.
Tell me why you think people should have confidence in your consistency and in your word when you really made a major U-turn on an issue of that importance in such a short time.
Senator, I believe, and I've always believed, that every abortion is a tragedy.
Shut up. Shut up.
But you told the people in New Hampshire that it was their right.
Get him. That's my little matzo ball. He got upset. He didn't let him off the hook. We need that. I love it. And will it change the outcome? No, not necessarily, but that's not the point. The point is to fight, find the cracks, show the contradictions. There's no gotcha. There's no changing these guys. They're like J.D. Vance, right? It's just like whoever, he goes wherever the couch goes. But I do need to, I'm obligated to play for you some other very important clips from this hearing. So this clip is Senator Bennett. So the whole point of this hearing is around RFK Jr.'s nomination as HHS secretary, right? So I just got to play this one. He's like, I was like, you know what, Democrat Senator Bennett, you've got my attention, sir. I just got to play this for you. It's perfect. It's perfect. It's perfect in every way.
Did you say that COVID-19 was a genetically engineered bioweapon that targets black and white people, but spared Ashkenazi Jews and Chinese people?
When else are we getting these kinds of fire lines? Okay, you will hear this again. You will hear this again.
I didn't say it was deliberately targeted. I just quoted an NIH-funded and NIH published study.
Did you say that it targets black and white people but spared Ashkenazi Jews?
I quoted
and
a
Chinese?
study, Your Honor. I quoted an NIH study that showed that
I'll take that as a
certain
yes.
races
I have to move on, I have to move on. Did you say that Lyme disease is highly likely a materially engineered bioweapon? I made sure I put in the highly likely.
Michael Bennett was like, you, sir, you who are going for the Health and Human Services Secretary, you, sir, will not get the nomination from me.
Did you say Lyme disease is a highly likely militarily engineered bioweapon?
I probably did say that.
Did you
I probably did say that. I probably did say that.
say that?
And that's what the developer of
I
Lyme
want all
disease
of our
said.
colleagues to hear it, Mr. Kennedy. I want them to hear it. You said yes. Did you say that exposure to pesticides causes children to become transgender?
Okay, listen. Listen. Who told him our secret? That is a transsexual secret. Who told him? I have it on good authority. Right? It's a secret of ours that pesticides are, in fact, how transgenders are born, right? We are born out of the bones of the insects we kill. The first transgenders, atrazine, and clopiferous, right? Those are the first ones, and we all come from them. We all are born of them. That is how transgenders came to be. It was absolutely the pesticides. I don't know how Robert F. Kennedy Jr. figured that out.
No, I never said that.
Okay, I have the record that I'll give to the chairman, and he can make his judgment about what you said. Did you write in your book, and it's undeniable, that African AIDS is an entirely different disease from Western AIDS? Yes or no, Mr. Kennedy?
I'm not sure if I made that.
Imagine saying such insane shit so often that you actually don't even know what you say anymore.
Okay, I'll give it to the chairman, Mr. Kennedy, and my final question. Did you say on a podcast, and I quote, "I wouldn't leave abortion, to the states. My belief is we should leave it to the woman. We shouldn't have the government involved, even if it's full term." Did you say that, Mr. Kennedy?
Senator, I believe that
Full
every
term.
abortion is a tragedy.
Did you say it, Mr. Kennedy?
I
This
believe-
matters. It doesn't matter what you come here and say that isn't true, that's not reflective of what you really believe, that you haven't said over decade after decade after decade, because unlike other jobs we're confirming around this place, this is a job where it is life and death for the kids that I used to work for in the Denver public schools.
Damn
and for
fucking right.
families all over this country that are suffering from living in the richest country of the world that can't deliver basic health care and basic mental health care to them. It's too important for the games that you're playing, Mr. Kennedy.
So these moments, right? These moments. This is, I keep saying this is where we get to identify who our key players are moving forward. There are so many Democrats. Establishment Democrats are useless. Fucking Schumer, Pelosi, Hakeem Jeffries. I can't stand them. They are a rot. They are a rot. They are a cancer to any kind of progress, right? The fact that any congressperson can, they have stock investments, just making buco bucks off of disaster capital. And there's so many things. We have lobby groups, right? Super PACs, just endless fucking spending. But inside of that, there are always these tiny little pockets of resistance, right? And there are voices that we haven't heard. And this isn't about, oh my God, I love the Democratic Party. This is about identifying our players, our coalitions. I just want to take us back to the beginning, though, because there's one thing that made me really laugh. Hold on. Just let me play this right quick again, because y'all.
Did you say that COVID-19 was a genetically engineered bioweapon that targets
Just
black
listen one
and
more
white
time.
people, but spared Ashkenazi Jews and Chinese people?
Like, imagine that COVID-19, right, was just like saw black people, saw some white people, and they're like, yeah, and then saw Ashkenazi Jews and knew the difference. Like, it was just like, no, they got IBS. No, Chinese people, we're good. What? But this is my favorite part.
I didn't say it was deliberately targeted.
Okay, imagine hearing that statement and your takeaway is, like, you said that COVID-19 was, something that black people and white people got, but not Ashkenazis and not Chinese people. And your takeaway was, I didn't say it deliberately targeted them. This man is nuts. That worm is still in his fucking brain. But I have been laughing at that for the better part. Imagine being like, well, I didn't say deliberately targeted. I think it just happened. Wild. Anyway, while this episode was recording, yes, we're about to wrap. There was a tragedy that is unfolding. An Army helicopter crashed into an American Airlines passenger plane. And so information is unrolling as we speak. I was about to wrap, but I'm just going to, instead of doing the question of the day, which I'll happily take on, tomorrow or whatever. I know we have our interview, and it's Jacob Tobiah. Get excited about it. That'll be our first guest. But I want to play this clip that just so comprehensively breaks down how awful this is, what a
Clearly,
fluke
Abby
it is,
will
how
be
terrible it is. Sorry, I ended up playing a bit prematurely. 64 people were aboard that commercial flight at the time, of recording. I'm just going to play this really quickly so that we get a sense of just the magnitude of how many failures had to happen for this tragedy to take place.
Clearly, Abby, will be a tragedy that will
Sorry, this is a clip from CNN.
change aviation. Mark my words now. You are looking now at the incredible response there on the shores of the Potomac River. That is the scene apparently from the air looking eastbound toward Reagan National Airport. You can see the terminal and gates in the background. In the foreground there, you can see all of the police crash, fire, rescue response on the banks of the Potomac. This is really staggering that this has happened, and there have been close call after close call involving commercial flights on the runways of commercial airports, major airports in the U.S., a spate of incidents that really took off in 2023. None of them ending up occurring with a midair collision like we have seen here. The fact that this involved not only a commercial flight, which is equipped from top to bottom with anti-collision technology, something called TCAS, Traffic Collision Avoidance System, mandated by the FAA in most commercial airliners since the early 90s, but also the pilots are well trained. The aviation system, commercial aviation in the U.S., is the gold standard for safety. We are the example for every other country. There has not been a significant crash with fatalities, and we do not know if there are fatalities here in the U.S. involving a commercial.
At this moment, and I'll speak on it in a second, there have been updates of some fatalities.
Flight since the Colgan Air crash of 2009 led to sweeping changes in regulation and pilot experience requirements. The fact that this happened in D.C. Over near Reagan National Airport, some of the busiest airspace in the country and one of the single busiest runways in the national airspace system, is really pretty incredible.
So that there, it was, I just thought, how many failures, right? How many places did not work in the way that they were meant to, so that we're here. So now what we do know is, CNN has confirmed that the U.S. figure skating, the U.S. team there, the entity confirmed to CNN in a statement that several members of their skating community were on board American Airlines Flight 5342 after participating in skating events held in conjunction with the U.S. Figure Skating Championships in Kansas. At the time that I'm recording this, 19 bodies have been recovered. I will be following reports and will continue to cover the story. I just hate that this happened. I don't know why. I'm thinking of all the ways that Donald Trump and everybody in that administration is gutting any kind of, regulation and oversight. Well, they put the worst absolute dummies in positions of power and oversight and regulation. And there's a high likelihood that this becomes more the norm. For now, my heart is just with anybody and everybody who has been impacted. I hope that there are survivors. And I'll fight for a world where things like this are just accidental. And at this point, it's so hard to say, because the very systems in place, those safety systems that, this person spoke to, Pete Muntean, well, those are the very things that people like Donald Trump want to attack. So I'm going to work very hard to one day be able to karate chop these fucking dickheads in the throat. This might have nothing to do with it, but the word that he used was incredible, and not in the good way, but how the fuck could something like this happen? Anyway, just my heart goes out to them, and I'm with all of you. We are our best resource. We are our best resource, and every time that we are, we're pressed we're on our back foot. If we just remember to look to our shoulder, one side or the other, there's always going to be someone there. Sometimes you got to look a little harder. But for every time that they attack us, there is a story of people resisting and fighting back. There is endless opportunity for wins over the next 4 years. I know this sounds ridiculous. I feel ridiculous saying that. Blame it on the stretching. I'm too limber. I'm not supposed to be limber. These are the days of our lives. This is it. This is it. And we're here. And as long as we're here, everything is still possible. I'm sending so much love out to y'all. Let me cue up this music because I've been yapping your ear off. Okay. I just want to say thank you so much for listening to Dark Woke with JFK. It means the world to me. The show really is a labor of love. We have new episodes dropping every day of the week. We're available everywhere podcasts are. Just if you love the show, please feel free to support it as best you can. We're on patreon.com/JanaFK. Don't forget, I want to hear from you. Drop your voice note email to darkwokejfk@gmail.com. It's okay if you still use the other one. They're all connected. Shout out to KR and the JFK team. And shout out to you, the listeners that make it all possible. Love you. Peace.